Hey, Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story, which comes from Patient Somewhere 86 from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit, and says, Am I the Arsehole Here for thinking about divorce? Throwaway as my husband knows my Reddit. I, 34 female, have been with Ken, not his real name, 37 male, since I was 16. We met in school as he was my brother's friend. We've been married for 10 years, have a 2-year-old son on the way, and Ken has always been my person. The person who you can't picture life without, and I honestly can't remember not loving him. I grew up with him, he's my everything. Unfortunately, Ken has this issue where he takes on everyone else's feelings like to heart. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. However, recently his best friend of 20 years has just found out that his wife has been cheating on him and none of the children are his. Obviously, his friend is devastated and is staying in our guest room. He's a nice guy, just life has him down right now. He started the process of divorce. The more time Ken spends with his friend, the more depressed he's become and distant. Our mornings used to start where I would wake up at 6 a.m. with our son, make breakfast, and about 8 a.m. I would wake Ken up with a coffee and some breakfast before going to drop little one off at nursery and go to work. Ken works from home most days, only going to the office on a Monday. So I'd give him his coffee, he'd give me a kiss, then I'd go off on my happy little way. Then I'd finish work, get our son and go home where Ken would be making tea. I'd clean up after whilst he was bathing our son and putting him to bed. I thought this was life. It might sound boring to some, but it was my life and I loved it. Our house was filled with love. We would spend our nights cuddling, talking, watching a movie, date night once a month. We would take our son out together on a Saturday and then Sunday go visit family or have friends over. You get the picture, I'm rambling, sorry. Anyway, for the past month things have been changing. Ken is more depressed. I make him a coffee in the morning and just get a mumbled thanks. I come home from work and the friend and him would be in the living room watching sports. I'm now making tea, bathing our son. Neither of them will barely talk to me. We don't go out on the weekends together. I feel like a single parent. I've tried to talk to Ken about it all, but I get one-worded answers. Then he stays up till about 1 a.m, which I know is not super late, but I'm passed out by then. I'm exhausted, alone, and pregnant. I miss my husband. Yesterday I came home from work and you know when something just doesn't feel right? Well, I went to find Ken to see what he was doing as his friend wasn't in the house, but Ken's car was. He was in his office looking up DNA kits for our son. I asked him why and his response was, well, I just want to make sure all the kids are mine before I continue looking after them as I'm not a free childcare. This broke me. When I say I'm devastated, it's an understatement. But if he thinks that I've cheated on him, then surely the trust is gone. Is there any going back? Am I just pregnant and hormonal? Would I be extreme for looking for a divorce? I could put the papers in the envelope with the results from the DNA test. I think I'm going to go cry in bed now. I had to take the day off work as I feel like I've just been gut punched. Wow. Now obviously these feelings and thoughts are being fed like the seeds planted from the guy who's going through divorce, the guy who's been cheated on. And I'm not excusing it because I'm trying to put myself in OP's shoes and I don't know how you kind of, this could be a very much a me problem. I don't know how you move on something like that. You're basically being accused of infidelity when you just said that you've had this perfect life up to this point. But clearly this guy coming into your house and feeding your husband all this information is putting doubts in his mind. And obviously people do move past this kind of thing, but I always struggle in my mind to see how you do move past it. Like I said, it's very much a me thing. Obviously the recently divorced guy needs to go if this is the case. He obviously knew something was up by not being in the house when you got back. Getting him out the house and having couples counseling, is that going to solve the issue or is it past that? I really don't know which way this could go, but as Zorgi says, your husband's feelings are being fed from his friend. Working from home a lot disconnects you from being social, and the only social activity he gets is depression from his friend. The friend has to go, and Once he does, you two can work on getting back on track the way you were. You really need to explain to him, and he should understand. These are all actions of the other person, not your husband, if that makes sense. Get through this and you two can be that much stronger. But as long as this other person is around, I feel it will only get worse. Good luck. Aggravating Film replies to that and says, misery loves company. His friend is miserable and projecting his toxicity on your husband. Two Bionic Knees says, kick the friend out immediately, as in pack his shit in bags, throw it on the doorstep and don't let him back in the house. Tell your husband he can start acting like a husband or let his friend destroy his fucking life with his toxic bullshit. That's if he carries on or stays friends with this arsehole, then your marriage is over, and he'll be living elsewhere, paying child support and depressed for ruining his own life. Not the arsehole. There is being sympathetic to a friend, and there is being disgustingly easily manipulated because you had no trust in your wife. He trusted his friend and let it change his views of you in weeks over someone he's been with for years. You aren't even a stay-at-home mum, but out there working and sharing the care of your son, but he acts like you're now leeching off of him. What an ass. His friend is terrible, but he's also an arsehole for remotely buying into it. Winterworld561 says you need to talk to his friend and ask him to leave ASAP, as he is causing issues for your own marriage, and he has your husband questioning if his son is actually his. This friend is toxic and has been whispering in your husband's ear, sabotaging your marriage and family out of bitterness from what his wife did. If your husband kicks off at you for asking his friend to leave, then serve him divorce papers with paternity test results showing the kids are his, and tell him he's lost his family because he chose to listen to his arsehole, bitter friend. And one final comment from Rogue One Freedom, who says, not the arsehole. Ken needs to leave your home and you both need counseling. I, 51 female, was in an 8-year relationship roller coaster. It took me a while to figure it out. The days that he, 58 male, had spent hours on the phone with his college buddy or enabling sister or narcissistic mother, I would pay the price emotionally and verbally. Every time our relationship took 2 steps forward, we ended up 3 steps back after these phone calls. It took many years, yes, years to figure this out. It appears you are more emotionally and mentally invested in this relationship than your husband, same as me. Otherwise, he would have never abandoned you this way, and the idea of asking for a paternity test and the other disgusting comment would be unthinkable. I don't think you need to jump instantly into divorce, but you definitely need professional therapist and counseling to get you both back on the same page if possible. Best of luck. Opie replied to that one saying, thank you for this. Reading this made me realize what it is I feel. I feel abandoned. I'm 8 months pregnant and just feel abandoned. So Opie adds another post in the same subreddit titled, I've asked my husband to move out. Am I taking this too far? He said, hello Reddit. Well, after my post earlier this afternoon, I cried, then read all your lovely comments and I couldn't be more grateful. I think posting it about here really helps for some reason. Weird how telling complete strangers that I'm struggling with life seems to help. So I think after my pity party, which couldn't last long due to being a parent, I called my stepmom and dad. My mum died when I was 10. They're coming to stay with me on Friday. Crying on the phone helped, although I'm not really sure they could truly understand a word of what I was saying. I've spoken to Ken. Well, more like spoke at Ken, telling him that his friend has till Thursday to leave. I'm not a monster and can't just tell him to leave at the drop of a hat. I've also told Ken that he needs to leave too. Oh yes, I could go to my dad's house. I don't want to disrupt my little one any more than needed, and all the things for my baby is here too. Especially as I'm 8 months along, it just seems stupid for me to be the one to leave. I've made it a point of not pointing out it's my house either. I'm trying to be calm and sensible. I'm not 100% sure Ken listened, but I did message his sister, who is a force to be reckoned with, and she said she'll make sure he's gone by Thursday night. Things I've told Ken I want is yes, he can have the DNA test, but I will be damned if I'm the one to do it. He can also have one for the baby, as I ain't got shit to hide. I know that some people have questioned why I'm so against it. Let me make something clear. I would never cheat because, as I said in my last post, Ken is or was, I don't know, my person. He's the only man I've ever been with, so that isn't any concern of mine. I'm just hurt that he wants one because he clearly doesn't trust me. So things I want. I want him to have the DNA tests mainly so I can make him eat the results. Not literally, I'm just venting. I'm also going to suggest couples therapy. I already see one due to losing my mum and my little sister in a car crash when I was little. I want to suggest he sees one alone, but you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it. I don't want to force him to do anything he doesn't want to do. I want him to maintain contact with our son. Yes, he doesn't believe he's the father right now, but that's no reason he should neglect him as he's his, and I don't want to upset my son. Yeah, he's only 2, but he still deserves all the love from both his parents. He's done nothing wrong, and obviously this one when she comes along. Still not sure about the state of my marriage, but even if divorce is what happens, I need to be able to get through to him so he can be the father he was. Am I going insane? Do I sound insane? I don't know why writing here helps so much. Thanks, Reddit. And I'll give you a general gist of the comments, basically that the husband has a lot of work to do to try and rebuild things, and it seems like OP's given them a way back in. They said, there is counseling there is solo counseling as well you can go to, and I'm glad that OP did lean on support systems. I'm gotta be honest, I'm waiting for that sister to come in. She's, like OP said, she's a force to be reckoned with. Holy moly, that guy is in some trouble, I think. And everyone's showing OP a lot of respect for the way that they're thinking, that they're being very clear and logical, especially in this condition with all the hormones as well, the pregnancy going on, as going through a hell of a lot. OP added another post in the same subreddit that said, my husband got his DNA test results. He still thinks I've cheated. Oh, dearie me. Hello again. I don't know how to update posts, so I just had to make another one. Following my 2 other posts, I will answer some questions. Yes, it is my house. It was left to me when my mum died. I've lived here all my life. I didn't move out because I have a child and one on the way, so why should I be the one to leave? I get that some people believe I was the arsehole for asking him to leave, but as I was heavily pregnant, have a toddler and it's my house, I wasn't about to leave. Yes, he could have stayed, but have you tried living with someone who just wants to argue or just not talk? I prefer my child not to live in that environment, thank you. At the end of the day, I'm a mother first and a wife second. If you think that's harsh, then I don't know what to tell you. My children come first, end of. Well, Ken's friend did leave the day I told him. He had till Thursday. He wasn't happy about it and shouted some insults at me, which was amazing. Ken's sister came and picked up Ken. I wish I could tell you what she said, but she didn't say anything in front of me. Just kept giving Ken death stares. We did get the DNA test for the little one, and Ken is the father, obviously. Ken somehow thinks I've intercepted the results, even though I wasn't the one that did it. I wasn't the one that got handed the results, etc., so he's clearly lost his mind. My dad came over, and whilst I was making tea, my waters broke. My little girl is here, and she is healthy and happy. She was 9 pounds 8 ounces, so no concern of anything with her. I'm now a mum of 2. I'm home now, and Ken has been to see his baby girl. Although she's not had a DNA test, he disagrees with her being his because his family doesn't have many girls. Yet he has a sister, so I just rolled my eyes. I don't really know where to go from here. Ken is refusing therapy. He says there's nothing wrong with him or his brain. I beg to differ. He wants to get another DNA test for our boy, but won't tell me when or where, so I can't interfere. Maybe one day he will come to his senses. My dad and stepmom are staying with me for a while to help me with the babies. I'd like to say I'm okay, but honestly my emotions are all over the show. I don't know which way is up. Ken's sister visits the babies, and we have an unspoken rule that we don't speak about Ken apart from when our son asks about him. I wish it was the kind of update where he got the results and seen how much of an idiot he's been and we move on, but sadly that's not the case. I can't dwell on it too much. Just take shit one day at a time. I do miss my person. I'm worried that he's missing out on his baby girl's life already, which if I think about too much, I just sit and cry, but I don't have time for that. As always, thanks for listening to me rant. I might update if anything happens in my life. Right now I'm still left wondering if I'm doing the right thing here. Is there anything I could do differently? Why are my kids so hard for him to accept all of a sudden? OP's last post came on their own page, which said, am I the arsehole for making it difficult for him to find a solicitor? Hello again Reddit, things have been bizarre, but now I have closure. I know what's happened to my marriage. I know what scum Ken really is. He's not my person and never truly was. So now I just want to divorce him, cut my losses and move on with my life. I'm still at home with my baby, settling into motherhood. My dad and stepmom are still here, but they will be leaving soon once I'm more emotionally stable. To say I'm okay would be a lie, but I now know what I need to do. Have some sort of closure with Ken. I know what happened with him, and I know that it's not my fault. Turns out Ken was having an affair and has a baby on the way. Even typing that makes me want to throw up. I found this out when a visibly pregnant lady just knocked on my door and asked me when I would be leaving the house, as it's Ken's house. When I say this confused the crap out of me, I mean it. I talked to this woman for a while to try and work out what she was talking about. It turns out that she's Ken's side piece. Well, technically in her head, she's his fiancée. A month ago, Ken got down on one knee and proposed to her in my fucking kitchen. Classy, right? So, they've been seeing each other for a while. She's having his baby. She believes I'm the ex-wife who Ken is letting him stay in his house till I get on my feet. Well, we apparently broke up a few years ago, and none of my kids are Ken's. When I go to work in the mornings, Ken goes to her house and works from there. They were waiting for marriage to move in together. How are you trying to marry someone when you're already married? Fucking weirdo. I asked for proof of all of this. She has pictures of them together. Apparently she has an OnlyFans account that they make content together. I told her we were still married and explained everything to her. I'm not sure what she's going to do, but hey, not my circus, not my monkey. Now I want a divorce. Is it true when she talked to a solicitor about a divorce, they can't represent the person you're divorcing? I want to go around our town and meet with as many solicitors as possible, as the first hour is free, so that he has a very hard time getting representation. Is that too petty? The house is in my name only and is protected, so there is no way he can take it. I have all my money and we do have a joint account, but that's just what we put our share of the household bills in. I haven't spoken directly with Ken. His family have completely cut him off and he's been kicked out of his sister's house. All those people who were concerned about him having a tumor or something wrong with his brain, I really don't think that's the case. I think his actions just caught up with him, as his lies were going to come out once his baby was born. I think that's what happened. He got backed into a corner and tried to fight his way out. Through the divorce process, I will get the court to do a DNA testing so he has proof for both. Even if he chooses to not believe it, I'm mentally exhausted from all of this and sat wondering how I didn't divorce, how I didn't notice. Might have to go for an eye test. But honestly, would I be so wrong for just making his life as difficult as possible to get legal advice, or is that too far? I want him to suffer. And I'll just cover a couple of comments from those ones to get a general gist of what people are saying. So Julia said, I'm a legal assistant. When I worked for the state, we would have a lot of opponents representing themselves without lawyers, either to save money or because the opponent was an insane conspiracy theorist. You might think the attorneys I worked for would be glad when their opponent had no attorney because that makes for an easy win, right? Wrong. Our opponent having no attorney and no idea what they were doing just made the process overly complicated and painful and annoying and dragged it out. True, there are insane conspiracy theorist attorneys out there too, but the vast majority of the time, once the defendant realized they were in over their head and hired an attorney, it made the process go smoother and faster. I know nothing about divorce court, but I hypothesize sabotaging his attempts to get an attorney will make the ordeal worse for you too. You have proof of infidelity, the house was acquired before the marriage, you have this in the bag already. Just go through the motions of serving the paperwork, letting time pass, etc. The less shenanigans anyone causes, the smoother and faster it will go. I don't know if soon-to-be ex has a motive to drag the process out, but preventing or delaying him finding an attorney is no protection against that. Now, personally, I wasn't thinking from a legal perspective because I just bloody don't have a clue. You know me. But my initial thoughts is just sort of like, move on from this guy. You know, he's already blown up his own life, and it sounds like he will continue going down this path. So there's no point in dragging yourself down with him, worrying about what he's doing. Don't let him take up your mental space. Move on, live a good life. The saying is something along the lines of the best form of revenge is living the best life, right? So I think certainly go down that route and just don't let him take up your headspace. But Illustrious Total says, not a lawyer, but I've read a bunch of threads on Reddit, and the consensus for doing that lawyer shopping thing seems to be that it's not technically illegal in most places, but the judge overseeing the case will not be happy if they find out. I mean, even if you was going down that path, how long would it take anyway? I'm not sure how many lawyers or solicitors there are per town, but let's say like a minimum of 10, and each one's going to take like at least an hour of an initial meeting before you get what you want out of it, right? That's at least 10 hours of your time without the driving, without the traveling, without arranging for your children to be looked after during that time. That's a lot of hassle, isn't it? But one more comment from Overall Scholar 4676. It says, wonder if his good old friend is still buddies with him since he turned out to be a cheater like his ex-wife. I'd make his life difficult. Take everything you can and ruin his reputation with everyone. Drag that divorce as long as you can if he's wanting a rush job. Make him pay you money on top of child support and have half of everything else he has. Can you imagine what content he's putting on that page? And him, a father. Gross. But now, put yourself in OP's position. What would you do in it? Would you drag this out? Would you go to these multiple solicitors? Would you find another way of doing it? Or would you just move on, live your best life, and move past this person? Obviously getting that child support at the same time. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day. A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, drink some water.